Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Monday, March 24th, 2025. Let's go and see what we're tracking here for today. As we're definitely looking at some springtime weather, that's for sure here as we're getting ready to wrap up the month of March and head into April. And with the warmer weather, boy, is it really going to kick in. I'm going to show you where we're going to see above normal temperatures over a very large portion of the country. And of course, when you introduce warm weather, any kind of disturbances, you got to look for some severe weather risks. And we do have a few of those we're going to have to track here really across a lot of the country here over the next couple of weeks. Now, before we get going in this report, first I want to say thank you to any new subscribers out there. And if you haven't yet decided to subscribe, please do so at this time. It's in that lower right-hand corner. Hit the notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you appreciate and you like what you see, please leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. It does help with the almighty YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here for this morning, as we do have some thunderstorms here along the Gulf Coast especially. We've had a few severe thunderstorm warnings down here across Louisiana, and it'll be the Gulf Coast we're going to watch for today, and some rains tracking through the southeast as well. Got another system up here up in the areas of Montana that we're tracking, and looks like we got a bit of a ridge out here in the west, seeing kind of quiet here across California, but the flow is tracking into the areas of the Pacific Northwest, and there could be some heavier rains up near the Seattle area for today as well. Big picture look, really looking pretty quiet here from coast to coast. A couple of winter weather advisories up there across portions of the Great Lakes and portions of the Northeast. But again, a couple of warnings down there in Louisiana. Otherwise, not looking too bad here across a big portion of the country. Looking at the current service map, here's our frontal system. Here's our active weather here across the southeast with the rains from Georgia stretching back down to Louisiana. A little bit of rain here across portions of, say, heading from Nebraska, heading up into areas of Montana. A little wet weather there. And there's some snow. We're still holding on to some winter component here across portions of the Great Lakes and into Canada, and the wet weather there into the Northeast. We're going to go ahead and zoom in here and take a closer look down here toward Louisiana. We do have some severe thunderstorms moving here for this morning here from into Lafayette and coming into Baton Rouge here pretty soon. Some pretty good hefty thunderstorms moving through here. And we'll see things begin to improve here a little bit later for this afternoon as this begins to push off toward the east. So with that said, we'll go ahead and take a look at the latest from the Storm Prediction Center, and we'll look at that day one outlook here for today. We'll see how things are going to progress. And again, we got multiple days to kind of highlight here. So let's go ahead and talk about this in a little bit greater detail here. As we're going to get highlighting that cluster of storms will be right along the Gulf Coast. That's going to be our zone for today. And as we go ahead and break down some of the categories on this, again, the tornado risk running about 2% in that green zone. So right along the Gulf Coast, that'll be our concerned area. And also that's obviously where our wind threat will be as well here for today. Let's go check out our day two outlook. Here's our day two outlook. We got a couple of clusters of thunderstorms we'll kind of watch here. We got a little bit here across hitting into the Pacific Northwest, here across Oklahoma and Texas, and also down here across South Florida as well for your day two. How about our day three? How's that one looking? Let's go look at day three, and we can see it a little bigger thunderstorm threat. Again, you can definitely tell we're definitely heading deeper into spring because we're seeing more days of seeing thunderstorms, and we have a marginal risk for severe weather here across areas that you don't normally would see. We're talking Oregon, Washington State, and into Idaho could see some active weather there as well. Now, what about beyond the 3 day? Do we have anything to look out beyond that? Well, let's take a look at that. Day 4, looking quiet. Day 5, also quiet, but as we go to day 6, yeah, we got a little cluster here we got to watch, and this will be for this upcoming weekend here across portions of Missouri, into Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And this also extends into day 7, a bigger coverage area. Check that out. That's going to cover from areas of the Midwest all the way into the deep south. So we'll have to watch this closely throughout the week to see what kind of severe weather outbreak we may get as we head toward this upcoming weekend. Now, the only thing we have to do as far as the heavy rain threat's concerned, I was taking a look at this. We only got one little section here over the next 3 days. That's up here across the Pacific Northwest with some heavy rains here for today. But that is roughly about it. That's all we have to deal with for today. So let's go ahead and talk about the model data. Let's go ahead and dive into this. First, we're going to take a look at the 500 millibar level, kind of get an idea what the winds are doing up at this level. And you're looking for the troughs and the ridges and get an idea of where the storm systems are going to be progressing. And obviously with this dip here in the east, that's our current storm system there across the southeast that we're kind of watching as that storm system moves on off. So we'll go ahead and look at this. Watch that little timestamp there in the upper right-hand corner as we say goodbye to that system. So definitely continuing with this trough here going into the middle of the week, but really not bringing down any real cold air. The cool air is going to stay predominantly here across the Great Lakes. We have another storm system here off the west coast we'll watch there as well as we go into the middle of the week there on your Wednesday. And we'll continue to track this on out. And again, what we're going to pay attention to is this upcoming weekend. As we saw, the SPC is saying, we got to watch out for this upcoming weekend. So we do have a piece of energy here coming into Saturday and Sunday. It doesn't look overly strong as far as the jet energy is concerned, but we're going to be seeing some very warm temperatures here. So we got this little eddy here that's going to be moving on in through there. So we'll have to watch that closely and see how that works out going into your Sunday. So got a little bit of that energy here coming out, and it really kind of dips in going into the following week. You see that big dip of the jet stream here in the west. So we're going to see below normal temperatures out in the west, but a big portion of the country as we go into the month of April are going to see some warmer weather. We got a big area of high pressure here across the southeast, and we'll have to watch for severe weather here across the middle of the country. That is for sure as we go into the first week in April. And then again, that ridge kind of holds steady there, so we got several disturbances that are going to ride through the middle of the country there. So it looks like we'll see things beginning to get drier there across the southeast. And as we got a kind of a collide, here's your high pressure ridge here, and you got a cutoff low here. So it's a very convoluted flow here as we go ahead and get into, say, around April 7th or so. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the short term. We're going to look at the high resolution model data here. All right, so we're going to say goodbye to this system here across the southeast. We got this one. We got this other system here that's quickly moving off this way. And this kind of will take us into about midnight going in toward Wednesday. So we're looking at our short-term forecast here. So we kind of say that these thunderstorm cluster along the Gulf Coast, that's where that severe weather risk is going to be for today. So again, we're watching that cluster of storms here along the Gulf Coast. This is where we're going to watch for that potential severe weather here going into the afternoon hours. So we're talking about heading from Mississippi over into areas of the Florida Panhandle as that moves on off. And you're still dealing with some winter weather as well. You notice that low there kind of circulating across areas of the Great Lakes. We're seeing the snows there. Unsettled wet weather across the northwest here as we go in throughout the day on your Monday here, on your Monday afternoon. So let's go ahead and look at Tuesday. Let's go ahead and take that into Tuesday, see how it looks there. And not looking bad. It's a little unsettled weather there going through West Virginia, going into your Tuesday afternoon. Still looking at some snows there across the northeast as well, but no big major storm systems. That's the good news here, at least to the middle of the week. So you got that little weak disturbance there riding across areas of the Intermountain, or not Intermountain, the Appalachians kind of coming down here. So you see some of that rain there. But that's about it as we head toward midnight going into Tuesday night and going into Wednesday morning. All right, let's go ahead and look at the big picture here, looking at the European model. Let's go beyond what we just looked at here for the next couple of days. All right, so we're going to go into Wednesday morning. So definitely looking at cool weather here across the Great Lakes. You're seeing the freezing 540 line sitting right in here. So the cold air is getting there. But one thing, when you're getting warmer, the days are getting longer, that cold air is getting a little more shallow, that's for sure. All right, so as we go ahead and go into the future, we're going to take this on through. Again, not looking too bad, okay? We got, again, we do have that unsettled weather here in the areas of the Pacific Northwest. We saw that. We knew that was going to continue to be a problem. So we'll go ahead and continue to make this go on through. And then we're going to watch what happens this weekend. Obviously, we got the storm system here that may set off some showers and thunderstorms here across the southeast and into the areas of the Midwest. There is a wintering component to that as well on the northern side of that going into Sunday morning. So again, Saturday, Sunday, we're talking about the 29th and into the 30th. We'll have to watch the evolution of that. That's where the thunderstorms are showing up here for day 6 and 7 on the outlook. So again, not expecting a major outlook, but because of how warm we're going to be here, I think we're going to see, again, probably up to about a slight risk right now, the way it's looking currently for severe weather. And look, we got some more heavy rains out here on the West Coast as well, moving in here on your Sunday as well. So let's go ahead and continue to take this on through for the end of the 7-day look. And there you kind of see going out 7 days, it's unsettled here across the east. Definitely getting some snows out here in the Intermountain West, but that's about it. So let's go beyond the 7-day. Now remember, from day 7 to 14, we're kind of doing extrapolation at this point to kind of see how this thing is going to work on out. So we're going to take out and see. Right now, it's not looking too bad. Not seeing any big major storm systems. Now, we did remember we had that big dip in the jet stream here as we go toward the end of this. So that's going to be out in the west. So the west is going to be getting colder, and then we'll watch these disturbances kind of kick on out here in the plains. And with the temperatures getting warmer and warmer, any one of them could potentially set off some severe weather. We are getting into that time of year. Severe weather season is definitely here, and we'll see that. We'll have to watch that closely to see how any of these little ejections come on out. Now, right now, not seeing anything. We got this upper level low here back across the Four Corners. We'll have to watch here across areas of Texas going out to the 7th and 8th. But again, anytime you look at a forecast from day 7 up to 14, you're just kind of looking at forecast trends to see how things are going to work out. One thing's for sure, it's definitely going to be milder, and any one of these little upper level disturbances that get kicked out into that warmer, more buoyant air is going to offer the opportunity for severe weather. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here at the rainfall totals and things. Let's look at that. We're going to look at the thunderstorms, okay? So what we're going to look at here is called the K index. what the K index gives us is the opportunity to kind of track where we're going to see thunderstorms. Obviously, like today, this morning, you're definitely seeing that here across the southeast. That is for sure. You're seeing that showing up very nicely there. So let's go ahead and watch this as we go through our forecast period here. And again, as we go forward, you're going to see that clear on out. It looks like as we go for the next several days here in the middle of the week, not looking bad, but we are going to see an increased threat of thunderstorms here across Texas here as we go in toward your Friday. So you notice some thunderstorms there. Here's some rumbles of thunder showing up there as well. But I'm looking for any kind of real spike. So we're kind of seeing how things are going. So as we go to this upcoming weekend, that's what I was going to focus on here. It's going into Saturday and Sunday. You see it, definitely a bigger coverage area of potential storms in this part of the country. So the K-index is kind of backing what we're seeing from the Storm Prediction Center as far as thunderstorm threat going into Saturday and this is into Sunday afternoon. So we'll have to watch this closely to see if this area will verify out for potential thunderstorms and or severe weather going in for this upcoming weekend. Let's go look at those rainfall totals. We're going to first take a look at the next 72 hours, look at the short term there. So we can see that, again, nothing overly heavy. Looks like the heaviest rain is going to be up here in the Pacific Northwest for today predominantly, but rains here pretty much all over the place, but nothing that's overly heavy at this point. Let's go out to the 10-day mark, go out to 240, and you can see definitely a lot heavier rain out there all across the West Coast. That's going to be our hot zone from California up. We're seeing some more activity here along the Gulf Coast, Texas over toward obviously the southeast. Obviously with that storm system we're watching for this upcoming weekend, we're going to see increased chances of rain there. And then we're going to take this to the end of the model run here for the next 2 weeks. You're definitely seeing a little bit of a wetter pattern, it looks like here across this portion right through here as we go in through the first week of April. All right, now we're not done with winter weather. We're not done with that yet. So this is kind of taking this out. Let me back this up again. I need to bring that all the way forward. But on the short term here, 72-hour window here, again, predominantly into around the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. You're seeing that right through there. So we're going to have to deal with that problem here on the short range, all right? Now, as far as beyond that, the Intermountain region, obviously we got a very active West Coast flow starts to kick in beyond that. So we're going to see some heavier snows there in your typical zones, especially from the Cascades and Sierra Nevada showing up there. And a little bit of snow across Iowa potentially there with that next storm system this upcoming weekend. And then kind of take this out at the end of the 240. So we're definitely seeing less and less of snow, predominantly Great Lakes, Northeast. Northeast, of course, has had a very snowy winter, and the Intermountain region. But obviously, to say a big portion of the country, we're done with winter weather there across areas of the South, for example, and now getting harder and harder to get it in the Midwest, that's for sure, as we're going into the month of April. Now, we're going to look at this. I want to show this here. Let me back this up once again. That's me looking ahead. But what we're looking at is the 850 temperature anomaly map. And what we're going to look for here is opportunities for the clash of the air masses, because that's typically when we get those thunderstorms to kind of erupt here. So we got a little cool down here in the east here for this upcoming week Wednesday. You kind of see that. We got high pressure setting up right here. This is what's bringing us the cooler shot here across areas of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. But look how warm it is out here in the west here as we go toward Wednesday, the 26th into the 27th. All right, let's go ahead and take this forward again. We'll watch that big high pressure going off, and we get on the back side of that high. The high pressure moves off the east coast here, and definitely seeing a big warm up here across the east. But here comes that opportunity here for this upcoming weekend. Again, as we watch the cold front kind of slide through there, and this will kind of move on off again. Well, that's the opportunity for this weekend for the clash of the air masses going into Saturday and into Sunday. So we're going to have to watch that clash and see how those thunderstorms set up for this weekend. But beyond that, looking beyond the 7-day, we're going to kind of look and see how this thing behaves. And one thing's for sure, you notice how things are turning colder here in the west and getting very, very warm here in the east. And we're looking at temperatures here running way above normal here across the Midwest and down in the south central portion of the United States. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see some 90s for sure across like areas of Texas and into Oklahoma, for example, going into the 2nd and 3rd. So maybe even flirting with summer-like weather there. And look how warm it is here going into the 3rd across the Great Lakes. Wow, into the Northeast, way above normal there. And definitely colder here in the west. That'll continue there into the 3rd and 4th of April. So we'll take this trend all the way out here again. We got a cold front pushing into that warm air, so we'll have to watch for thunderstorms in here. You got the little cold shot here. We got the upper low down here. We got an upper low feature that's going to be firing up across the southwest as we go in toward the 5th and 6th of April. And this always moves on out. But boy, look at this big high that sets up in here once again. We got a big high setting up across the southeast. Very warm here in the east. A little below normal there across the southwest. And looks like maybe Canada trying to give us one more cold shot there as we head toward the 7th and 8th. But these cold air intrusions are important to track because where they're the strongest and where the jet stream is configured, we can get stronger jet energy, and we can obviously get the severe weather risk. So it's something I'm going to watch very closely here as we go in through that transitioning into April and into severe weather season. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. We'll look at the climate outlook here as we're looking at the 6 to 10 day outlook. And as you can see, as we're showing a lot of the country with above normal temperatures, and we're definitely seeing that from the 29th through the 2nd. This is your 6 to 10 day outlook. Near normal out here on the West Coast, and maybe a little below normal there across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. Going beyond that, big part of the country here looking at above normal temperatures, but below normal out here on the West Coast. Now, the West Coast here, you saw what I was showing there at the end. Looked like maybe a little more blue area coverage in there. So we'll see if the Climate Prediction Center actually updates this a little bit later today. We're definitely seeing below normal conditions there in Alaska. And the 6 to 10 day, very active with a storm pattern flow here going out through the 2nd. And it looks like the European was verifying that, except for areas in the southwest. Very wet out here in California. And then it slows down a little bit here going from the 31st through the 6th with below normal precipitation expected here. Still active on the West Coast and a little bit above there into the Northeast. So we're getting into that time of year. We got to track that severe weather, and we're going to keep a very watchful eye on it. It's part of making that transition from winter to spring, and we're going to continue to watch this once again and give you an even keel approach to let you know which days you need to be really be aware of and be weather aware, and what days you don't, and what part of the country is going to be impacted. So if you like a straightforward weather report, one that's not going to go over the top and tell you that every storm is a major outbreak, if the storm of the century, then this is the right place for you guys, okay? So please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And we do a little live coverage from time to time. It's difficult because when we're going up against the Goliaths out there, those weather enthusiasts that basically dominate the YouTube universe, it makes it a little more difficult for us. But I will promise you this much: I can give you one-on-one exclusive personal coverage and answer any of your questions and stuff like that, because those bigger guys, they get tens of thousands of comments and stuff. They really can't give the personalized service that we can do on the smaller channel. All right, that's y'all's update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on our next update. Till then, y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.